And if you have any questions, just chime in. All right. So let me just move my screen. And I am recording. All right. So welcome to the workshop on building authentic relationships on LinkedIn. And I want to share a few things. This is not going to be some theoretical workshop. This is going to be very, very, very practical. So I want to share some of the ways people can interact and engage on LinkedIn. And we'll leave some time for questions. But Valerie, as I said, feel free to ask your questions as you go. As I go, if you're stuck on anything. And basically, this is not meant to be about the mechanics of LinkedIn. It's meant to be about human to human interaction. So a couple things I'm going to share. I am not a fan of artificially generated content. I don't use AI. I'm not judging anyone who does. But the reality is, when you're talking about authentic relationships, it's a human, by definition, in my mind, an authentic relationship is one human connecting with another. And I'm going to get into why I believe this, why I focus on authentic relationships. Um, there will be some overlap with other things I teach, but I want to sort of cover this all in one place in the context of LinkedIn, because I believe way too many people are trying to be too clever and they're trying to keep up with algorithms and they're on this platform and that platform. Um, I am on LinkedIn, period. If you find me on some other platform, it's probably not me. I don't have accounts on most platforms. I have a Facebook account because I'm in a group. But strictly, that is, I get into the group, do what I have to do, leave. So I am active on LinkedIn. I've been active on LinkedIn since I would guess probably somewhere around 2010, 2011, 2012. I've been on LinkedIn for a very long time. And full disclosure, the experts tell me I'm doing it wrong because I'm focusing on the human relationships and I'm ignoring the algorithm. So, first of all, let's talk about why we want to build authentic relationships. And then I'm going to show you how to build authentic relationships. So, the why part is simple. I work with key strategic partners. These are people who also serve my perfect prospects, my dream clients. So the people I have relationships with are not necessarily my clients, but they work with my clients. So, as an example, if you haven't heard me rant before, if you're a dog walker, anybody who serves people with dogs is considered technically a strategic partner for you. And I share this because sometimes it's the obvious that trips people. If you're a dog walker, the fundamental criteria for somebody to be a prospect for you is that they have to own a dog. So if you're really, really simple, the person who supplies dogs, whether it's a pet store, a breeder, what have you, that's a strategic partner for a dog walker. Also, we're thinking about grooming, nutrition, healthcare. Those are other strategic partners for a dog walker. And so the secret to growing your business, and this is why I keep it really simple, build relationships with 12 people. You don't need to get fancy. You actually, technically, it's you and 11 other people. I call that a key strategic partner network. Basically, those 12 people will help each other. They'll find ways to grow. And one of my favorite activities for those people is to brainstorm how can we add value to our perfect prospect or dream client. So we're building authentic relationships because a good strategic partner can put us in front of hundreds, if not thousands, of our perfect prospects. So I personally believe that networking and referrals are the best, most reliable, and fastest way to grow any business of any size if you do it correctly. And by correctly, I mean we have our strategic partners. We brainstorm ways to add value to our clients, our prospects. All right, so that's my why. I believe that building relationships, and I'm going to quote Bob Berg, and sorry, Bob, I may misquote you a little bit. Bob Berg says that all things being equal, we do business with people we know, like, and trust. And if we're in sales, our job is for things to not be equal. We need to be better. And one of the ways we can be better is by being a go giver. We can add value to the people we serve. And so, one of the things I like to do is add value to my strategic partners. And by doing so, I'm in front of their prospects, I'm in front of their clients. We all win together. So, to be clear, I truly believe in building authentic relationships. So, building implies that it takes time, there's a process, we need to be deliberate. Authentic means just that, it is genuine, authentic. We're not pretending to care about somebody, we actually do. So for me, if I've got 11 people in my key strategic partner network, I care deeply about their success. I don't necessarily need to benefit from helping them. I want them to succeed because it's the right thing to want. And then the last thing, relationship, I'm going to define it as mutually beneficial. And basically, we're building relationships with key strategic partners that will help us earn referrals and will make introductions. So we're not going to get into the definitions of referral versus introduction. Just know that those two words are different and important. I guess for context, I'll give you the introduction versus referral. My definition, really simple. An introduction is somebody that I need to know in business and should consider having a relationship with. So, for example, a key strategic partner. A referral is, Jeff, here's somebody who needs your goods or services. Please help them. So there's a with an introduction, it's about the greater good. We don't know what the benefit is, but we'll figure it out as we go. Whereas a referral should be about, hey, I think you two need to do business together. Now, I see this mixed up all the time, and I make a lot of introductions, and then I watch in horror as the person receiving the introduction ignores what I said about the context and why they should connect and goes straight to sell, sell, sell. I've got news for you. Nobody wants a sell, sell, sell moment. People love to buy, they hate to be sold to. So I believe in educating. I believe in sharing valuable content. I believe in building relationships that will turn into introductions and referrals. All right. Any questions before I jump into how we can leverage this powerful tool called LinkedIn?
Nope, I'm good.
Awesome. And for the recording, Valerie has, I don't know, the good luck or the bad luck of being the only person to show up today. So Valerie is going to get this tailored to her as much as possible. For those who registered and didn't show up, you snooze, you lose. So the first thing I want to point out, pick the platform that makes sense to you. I specifically am going to talk about LinkedIn. If you're watching this another day, you can figure out how does this apply to the platform of your choice. But the reality is it's the strategies that make sense. You can use it on any platform. Now, the reason Jeff is teaching how to use LinkedIn to build authentic relationships is that Jeff only uses LinkedIn. So I'm not going to show you how to get tricky and fancy and do cold outreach. I'm not going to show you how to spam people. I'm going to show you how I go about building authentic relationships. So the very first thing, I want to share something, and this might be a case of do as I say, not as I do. But basically, you want to have your profile. very clear and concise and talking about who you serve. Now, I am unique in that I serve a wellness community. My audience is successful entrepreneurs who have squandered their health to accumulate wealth. And now they're at that stage in life where they want to reinvest their wealth to reclaim their health. That doesn't necessarily show up. I am a Renaissance man, so I'm a little bit unique. um, I do business solely by referral. So I'm not looking for people to find me organically. I'm not looking for search engine optimization. When somebody comes to me, they know why they're coming to me. But the big thing is my core, what I do, and you want to make sure your profile is as clear as possible. You want to say what you do and what transformation you offer and for who or whom. I don't know the grammar on that. Um, but basically, I work with successful brands that want to build a community. And the tools I use for that, I build networking events, I build a podcast, and I help with a book. So that is my space. I am a ghostwriter, as you can see by my little tag there. Um, but ultimately, I just say I'm a brain for hire because I love brainstorming, I love strategy, and I love finding ways to support local business. So the first thing you can do to add value is to have a very clear profile and make it clear and share what you do, how people can get in touch with you, that sort of thing. Um, Again, I don't spend a lot of time fixing my profile, but it shows I have some very eclectic interests and tastes. Um, so the first way we're going to talk about simple ways you can add value to people. Um, I may not cover it in the order, so I'll just sort of go as we can. But the number one thing I would say is, so here's the um, about section. Here's my experience. But there are two areas, if you're looking at anyone's profile, there are two areas you can add instant value. And I'm going to do this with my friend Esther just because she's one of those people. She's always giving, and I want to give back to her. So, Esther, I apologize in advance if you get a bunch of random people. This is my friend Esther. She helps young women get into technology. She is an author, she's a community builder, she's a speaker. She runs her own networking group. But I'm going to use this as a way to show you how I can add value to my friend Esther. So, the very first thing that we can do is this skills section. So I'm on Esther's site, and you can see that she's been endorsed by Mutual Connections, and I'm going to endorse her. So, for the record, rule number one in building authentic relationships is give before you ever ask to receive. Think about relationships as a bank account. If we don't make deposits, we can't hope to make withdrawals. So, for Esther, I am going to endorse her for relationship development and marketing strategy. And she's got a whole bunch of other skills. And by the way, you can have these skills on your site, on your profile, so that you can add some value. And basically, I've added endorsements. So that gives a little bit of instant value to Esther. And I would encourage you, if you've got your 12 group of 12 strategic partners, including yourself, have everybody endorse everybody because it helps others looking in your network to say, oh, so for example, it tells me that people I know, Steve Spiro, hi Steve, endorse Esther for these skills. So it is a good way to add some value, and it's a good way to get to know somebody a little better. We're giving first. So, number one, endorse their skills. Number two is we want to make a recommendation. Sorry, we need this to load. I'm just looking very quickly to see if I've already done one. There we go. So, a sincere, well worded, well thought out, what's their word for it? Sorry, recommendation can go a long way. So for Esther, I know her as a connector. I meet a lot of people through Esther. I introduce a lot of people to Esther. So I have a recommendation for her as a connector. And it literally is as simple as you click. Let me just show you this. This is a how to. So you click on recommend Esther. And the algorithm will ask you a couple of questions. How do you know Esther? You pick the one that best shares how you're connected. You can share her position at the time. So it's just a confirmation, and then you write out why you're recommending this person. So those are my two favorite things. And the magic of this is if we don't crash LinkedIn. Okay, when in doubt. So the magic of recommendations and endorsements is it allows people in your network to see exactly what you think of this person, how you're connected to them. And I want to stress that those two things, endorsing their skills and recommending them, adds instant immediate value to them because they see, oh, and they'll actually get a notification saying Jeff endorsed you for this. We'll do a live example here in a second. They'll get an announcement that Jeff provided a recommendation for you. So what that does is, first of all, it provides social proof to people in your network saying, and by the way, don't willy-nilly randomly endorse or recommend people. Recommend people that you know, like, and trust, because other people in your network are going to see those recommendations and take it as gospel. So they're going to say, "Oh, Jeff recommends Esther, therefore I should reach out to Esther." Only recommend Esther if you truly want people to reach out to her. So that's a little bit of a little tip in life. But that's one of the biggest ways you can add value to people. So you're adding value to the person receiving it. You're adding value to your network because they're looking at it and saying, "Oh, there's another resource for me." And by the way, one of the things I talk about is building authentic relationships. I like to build a community of my clients, and I introduce my trusted advisors, my key strategic partners to my community. And by doing that, I'm adding value to everybody because I'm providing solutions. I'm helping people find trusted advisors in my network. So, those are the two fastest, easiest, free ways to add value to people. So if you've got a key strategic partner plan and you've got your 11 strategic partners, endorse each of them for 3 skills and give each of them a recommendation. And the key words here are sincere, helpful, authentic. So your recommendations should say why you recommend them, what you recommend them for, and in what context somebody would reach out to them. So I'm not telling you to do this for everyone, just for the people around you that you want to help the most. And by the way, once you've given somebody an endorsement, once you've given somebody a recommendation, um, usually the social norm is people will reach out and say, "Oh my God, thank you. That was so helpful. May I do this for you as well?" Yes, please. So this is, and by the way, you can see givers and takers because you can see how many they've received versus how many they've given. Again, with your key strategic partners, have a pact where you all agree to endorse and recommend. That adds value to everybody in your network, including your prospects. So, any questions, Valerie, on recommendation or endorsement?
So to clarify what you've got, because I'm kind of going through my LinkedIn as you're talking about this, so I'm seeing what you're seeing in my page. Under skills, then it's what we're putting in as skills. So it's not just a standard thing that LinkedIn has
Yeah,
produced for everyone. We want to set out what our skills are, and then people can go in and comment or provide feedback specifically on what we do. Is that correct?
exactly.
Okay.
And again, that's a way you can help others help you is make sure, because I find a lot of people don't keep their skills current. And generally speaking, less is more. I have I try to keep mine. I haven't cleaned it lately, but I try to keep mine to about a dozen. Because I don't want to be known for everything. I just want to be known for the things I'm world class at. Um, so that's the big filter there. Now, the next way we can add value is by commenting or sharing people's posts. So I'm going to guess Esther has a post. Okay, so Esther does a lot of things, but she teaches community building and she has a bunch of things. So the next way you can add value is to comment on their posts. And I'm just going to say something. A lot of people have a reaction, so they'll share like they give it a like or a celebrate or a support or a love or an insightful or a funny. um, I really personally don't do just that because it doesn't help them much. I can say, "Oh, I love the post," but it doesn't add much value to them, and it's kind of a waste of my time. Now, a little tip for those who aren't well versed in LinkedIn: if you add a reaction and then somebody else reacts, it brings it into your notifications feed. So if you just want to follow a post, you can do that. But I'm all about building authentic relationships, adding value. So I will comment. So adding a comment is the number one way you can show some love for the people that you support in your network and community. And what that does is it brings this post into your notifications. You'll see when other people make comments. And again, if you're looking at your strategic partners and you comment, it brings it into your feed so people can see things. It helps them be more visible. Now, if we're talking about key strategic partners, I want to go a little further than just giving them a little bit of love for the sake of the algorithm. So, what I will do is I will also repost. And what this does is it puts it front and center in your feed and says, "Hey, everybody, look at this." Be selective. You don't want to randomly spam people. But again, if you've got your 11 fellow key strategic partners plus yourself, if you're all reposting and you have this pact to add value to each other, you can have a bigger impact. So there are two options to repost. You can just instantly repost, or you can repost with your thoughts. I am not going to get on a soapbox over either one. If I'm on my phone and I just want to share some love, I will instantly repost. Most of the time, I'll add context. And personally, I think you add more value by adding context. So, as an example, um, I am resharing, and here's the magic. When you reshare with your thoughts, you can have it so that anybody can see it, or you can put it to your connections only, or a group, which we'll talk about a little bit later. In this case, I want it to be anyone. And are you building a community?
As you're typing that, Jeff, I'm just wondering where you said you don't like artificially shared information or the use of artificial intelligence, maybe was what you were saying. But I've
Yeah,
noticed in a lot of the social options, there is the option to use AI to help your wording become a little bit more congruent to your thoughts. Do you have any beliefs on that, whether that is beneficial or not beneficial?
I believe personally that people do business with people. So if you're using artificial intelligence to write your content or to share posts, people are going to connect with your content, not with you. And I'm looking to build authentic relationships with my strategic partners. That means they're going to get the raw, unfiltered version of Jeff. I am authentically Jeff. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm not smart enough to know how to be authentic and use artificial intelligence. So at this point in my life, I refuse to use any form of artificial intelligence for content creation. Anything, and again, this is unique to what I do. I am a networker. I build relationships. It's a little like sending a robot on a date with your significant other. They're going to know the difference. So for me personally, I don't use AI. If somebody wants help and needs AI, I don't judge them for it. But the reality is, you unfiltered and imperfect is going to be better than AI that's too perfect. And I'll share an example. A friend of mine follows somebody on social media, and they're a hobbyist, and they share their hobby with their audience. You can tell the day they made the decision to go and use artificial intelligence, because before that they were imperfect. They shared their thoughts, they had their, sort of ramblings and things like that. They had some unique spellings, spelling errors, grammar errors, things like that. All of a sudden their content is absolutely perfect, but the personality of the person is gone from the content. So believe it or not, that community has shrunk because people showed up for her authentic self, and she disappeared from that authenticity. So my advice, it's easier to be you. Everybody else is taken, so be you, be authentic. You'll build better relationships that way. Now, that's not to say you can't use AI for some content, but specifically in this context, we are talking about building authentic relationships. And I personally don't believe that there's any room for AI in building authentic human relationships. If we can replace humans with AI, we don't need buyers, we don't need sellers. We'll just let the bots do their thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thanks so much.
So the key here is we're not looking for the masses. We're looking to build relationships with our community. And by the way, good connectors, we can smell an algorithm or an artificial intelligence a mile away, and we will run like hell from it. My friend Esther here, her and I have had many, many wonderful conversations, and we've agreed that one of the keys to being a good connector is being self-aware. And that's also a key to being authentic. If you're self-aware and you know what you are, good, bad, and ugly, um, you're still able to show up authentically. And that's the thing. I'd rather meet somebody who's authentic than somebody who's plastic and perfect. If I don't want to offend the Barbie crowd, but I'd rather meet a real human being than a doll or a robot. So that's kind of where we're at. Um, so the best way you can add value with your strategic partners, and again, these are people you're going to meet with regularly, you're going to engage with them. I host a weekly networking group. I recommend you host a regular frequent meeting with your strategic partners. um, we all win by helping each other win. So Esther is one of the people I like to promote. Bob Berg is one of my other favorites. um, so reposting is a good way to make a connection. Now, one of the things I like to do is I'll make introductions in my comment. So, for example, I'll put in, oops, I can't spell. So, Valerie. And that way I add value to both people because I've shared it with Esther, I've shared it with Valerie, and there you go. So now Valerie and Esther, they'll follow up with each other. But what I've done is I've put it in their notifications. And now normally I'd give a little bit more context. I'd say, here's why you need to connect. Um, in this case, I'm just using it as an example. But connecting people is, because again, we want introductions, we want referrals. The best way to receive is to first give. Now, I'm going to share a strategy that I use that I don't think is used enough. I am a massive fan of LinkedIn groups. And I think I've culled this list, so I only have a half a dozen or so, a little bit more than that. But basically, one of the things I do, and I'm going to talk specifically about the Alberta Professional Networking Group, I create groups and I invite people to the groups. And the whole point of the group is they have a common theme, they all serve the same audience. And basically, I'm inviting people, in this case, key strategic partners. And basically, a group can be either private or public. It's really, really easy to create a group. Basically, all you need is an image. I use Canva to create my images. You can see Jeff's really artistically inclined. So there's an Alberta Professional Networking Group. Um, I can show you how to create a group. It's really, really easy. And basically, what I would do, what I do is I'll create a group and then I click over here and I invite my connections. And again, my criteria is I only work with people who get networking. I only work with people who are on LinkedIn. And I only, in this case, work with people who are located in Alberta. So I'm going to invite the people I know in Alberta who are, I think, will be good connections in the group. And I'll show you how to message people and invite them. One of the things I find is if you just bulk invite people, they don't necessarily join. But the secret is, as you can see up top here, every LinkedIn group has a private URL. It's always this ugly group slash and then a number. But basically, what I do is I will copy and paste that, and then I'll send somebody a message saying, "Hey, so and so, I'd love to have you in my group if it serves you." And basically, I put a little context in. Here's what the group is. But basically, this is my number one tip is create this group. So Valerie, you mentioned that you have a community of key strategic partners. Create a group for it. And what that does is it makes it really easy for existing members to invite their friends, colleagues, clients, peers, what have you. But it also makes it easy for people to share ideas and insights. So for my Alberta group, I have a networking event on Fridays. The criteria is you have to be in Alberta, you have to serve other businesses in Alberta. So it's an Alberta based group. For some reason, people from Ontario don't always understand that. I get a lot of Ontario people applying. I only let people in who are from Alberta. And basically, you can see this is a little place where people can share their posts. We can share announcements. There's Victoria made a post. Here's my post reminding people that this group is by Alberta for Alberta. So if you're not in Alberta, sorry, you don't belong in it. Um, I'm guessing Valerie, there you go. Valerie's got some posts in there. The key to this group is you're sharing education and insight. And you're giving people information that might be useful to their people. But basically, I have 135 members. The whole point of this group is to help people in Alberta who serve businesses in Alberta connect. So having a group is just one of those things. It's a nice, neat little bucket. It puts everything in one place. It allows people to connect. My number one rule is you need to be clear who your audience is. You need to be clear what the rules of the group are. But my number one rule is you're not here to sell to the people in the group. You're here to educate the people in the group so that they know who to introduce you to, how to make introductions, etc. So one of the things we're going to be doing with this particular group, I'm teaching some content, some ideas, how to host a workshop, how to share a workshop, how to share educational content. The idea is to build a network of content so that we can educate Alberta-based businesses together. So groups are my power tool. And like I said, you can just invite people. You can make introductions to people in here. One of the things I do in this group is I'll tell people, introduce yourself with a video, and then I can connect people to you through this group. So this is about helping me help you, helping me help my network. I don't have time to do one-on-one introductions. I don't have the interest in receiving one-on-one introductions. I do it through the group so that everybody benefits, everybody gets to meet the person rather than I know in certain networking groups, they highly encourage one-on-one networking. I build communities. I think of me as the mayor of my community. I unfortunately don't have time to go visit every household and meet every person. So that's my value is I created the group so that people can connect with one another and have conversations. So that's groups. The next thing I do to add value is introductions. And I'm just going to pause there to see if Valerie has any questions.
Nope, I'm writing notes and following along. I'm good.
Okay. So I'm going to show you my inbox. Don't read it. One of the things, so I have, I talked about Esther already. She created a chat. So if you just go to messages, this is where we're going to be. But Esther created this chat, and basically people share their posts. So in real time, I click on this. This is a message from my friend Steve. And I like to repost. I'm going to repost without comments just because. But I share this and I'm going to say thank So as you can see, and by the way, this isn't full-time job. Jeff doesn't spend all day every day on LinkedIn. But I have my select group of people, and I spend probably an hour a day helping my network grow. So one of the things I like to do is messages. So I'm going to just pretend here. I'm not actually going to send this. But let's say I decide I desperately want to introduce Valerie and Esther. By the way, normally I would say Valerie and Esther are great connections. However, Esther's entire network is in the US, and I know Valerie is mostly in Canada. So they're not a good fit for each other. But that's the thing. When I make introductions, I try to introduce people that I think need to know one another. So actually, let's do an actual one. So for the record, I think Valerie and Robin know each other, but
We do.
okay. So couple of things. So let's go back to our group for one moment. And by the way, if you don't know how groups work, if you go to your home page, you can scroll down. Um, I mentioned it's easy to create a group. Literally, you click on groups. And I'll show you this just for the sake of it. So you click on the groups and click here and create group. It's literally add a picture here, add a square picture here, give it a name, description, what industries, your location, the rules, whether it's public or private. I'm leaning towards LinkedIn wants you to do public groups. Most of my groups going forward are going to be private, because one of the things I found with one of my groups, for some reason we made the rounds of Nigeria, and we're getting a lot of requests for people in Nigeria to join our Alberta group. So I've cut that off. Um, Again, my goal is not the biggest group on the planet. My goal is the best group. I want quality people, so I think private is best. And then I usually allow my members to invite their connections. And when it's a new group, I want to review posts because I don't want people to show up and throw up and try to sell their stuff. Um, so coming back to, I was going to do a message. I think a lot of people don't know this, but if you click on the new message, you can add two people, and I always give it a name. So in this case, Valerie and Robin, and hi, Valerie and Robin. Now, I'll usually write a, because if I'm going to take the time to make an introduction, I'm going to do it well. So usually in this case, what I will do is I will say, Robin, meet Valerie. Valerie does this. Here's who she serves. Here's what she's looking for. So I want to give context. And then I'll say, okay, Robin, you've met Valerie. Valerie, now meet Robin. Um, and then I always remind them of context. And then I'll say, I will leave it to the two of you to connect. Now, in this particular case, so Valerie, this is going to be an example. Hi, Robin. Robin is both a prospect for Valerie and a strategic partner. So Robin has a son who plays sports. She would like to insure her son. Valerie helps people with that problem being solved. She helps them find insurance for high risk activities. So in this case, I know that Robin is a prospect for Valerie. Now, having said that, Robin is a business coach. She helps people with cash flow. There's a possibility that Valerie could benefit from working with Robin. So, in this case, it's kind of a strange hybrid. Um, this is what I'm going to call a referral, introduction, because I also know that Robin's community of entrepreneurs and business owners could benefit from knowing Valerie. And I know Valerie's community of entrepreneurs, business owners could benefit from knowing Robin. So this is a unique one in that, and you want to give people context, because one of the things I'm learning is if you don't have context, people default to whatever that is on their mind today. So, not pointing fingers at anyone, but if I don't give context and Valerie's thinking, I got a quota and I got to close my deal today, Valerie's going to go at Robin and try to sell her immediately. That's okay if that's what Robin wants. But as the introducer, I need to make it clear to both parties what the expectations are. And by the way, sometimes my expectation is you're an amazing human, they're an amazing human, you two need to meet, the world will somehow be better because of it. I'm not smart enough to know what that is. Please figure it out. But you see, I always give context. So for and Valerie, I'm going to put words in your mouth. I want you to respond to this. I would expect that Valerie would appreciate knowing that Robin is both a potential client and a potential key strategic partner. Is that fair, Valerie?
Absolutely. And actually these are the best kind of connections where it can be mutually a benefit. I love working with people that I can refer people to and that also I can help individually, because then that becomes even a better referral for me when I've been able to help someone. But again, knowing them and being able to refer business to them is fantastic because I love to do introductions and share great people with my current network of people.
Awesome. And this is where I spend my time. And for the record, I don't look, I may have mentioned earlier, I mentioned the concept of, a relationship is like a bank account. You need to make deposits to make withdrawals. I see my network as a portfolio of investments. I will invest my time, energy, and attention into people, and over time, I know with certainty that that network will bring value back to me. I don't necessarily expect, I don't keep track and say, okay, Valerie, I made 3 introductions and gave you 2 referrals. You owe me that back. I don't play that way. But I do try to outgive the universe. A friend of mine said you can't outgive the universe without receiving back. So I spend an hour of my day every day finding ways to add value to my network on LinkedIn. And that's doing little things like making introductions. So I'm going to hit send. Valerie and Robin can respond to that at their leisure. But I think that's the least used tool on LinkedIn is the new message where you can connect multiple people with multiple people, and the LinkedIn groups where you can invite people and they can share comments. Um, I think those are the biggest ways to add value. And that's what I do is I spend about an hour a day. First things first, I'll go through and respond to any messages. I always say thank you. And by the way, this is just basic humanity. When somebody makes an introduction, I say thank you. I say thank you when they make the introduction. So I'll say, oh, Valerie, thank you for introducing me to so and so. And then when I meet with the person, maybe we meet one on one, maybe they come to one of my networking events. I'll say thank you again. I'll say, oh, I had a great conversation with Valerie. Thank you, Robin, for introducing us. But basically, I'm trying to stay in touch with the people on my LinkedIn by thanking them and by sharing connections and introductions. I have one more topic I'm going to cover, but I just wanted to see if there's any questions about building authentic relationships on LinkedIn so far, Valerie.
Can I just comment or ask a question? Maybe first off, thank you for clarifying that you spend an hour a day doing that, because that was a question: is how much time would you invest in adding value to your network? But would that be something that you would do kind of Monday to Friday, or is that a everyday type of thing? Do you do a lot of activity, I guess, on the weekends or holidays, or those days where you kind of take it off?
I'm going to say it depends. For me personally, my weekends with my family are sacred. Um, so I don't do anything on the weekends if I don't have to. And really truly, I want to stress to people that if you do this right and you do it well, it should create time, not take time. So I invest 5 hours a week, but this is 100% of my business development. So
Okay.
literally, and by the way, I used to do live in-person networking events. What I've realized with the world falling off the edge with COVID and all the things, I love the efficiency of virtual networking. I hosted Friday networking event, so I spend most of my week inviting people to that event. Um, I don't need to work weekends, so therefore I don't. And I'm going to be honest, I used to work 100-hour weeks. I realized, Valerie, that was lazy because I wasn't stopping to prioritize and say, okay, this is where I should spend my time. So I've boiled down all of my networking and connecting to 1 hour a day. So that's my discipline. I keep that time to that. So I don't need to work weekends. Now, if you serve an audience that tends to be active on social media on weekends, you're going to have to tailor that to your space. But again, I only work with business to business people. So I can get away with Monday to Friday sort of posts and activity.
Okay.
Now,
Perfect.
sometimes that means Mondays things are a little bit more hectic, but um, I limit it to an hour on purpose. First things first, the activity will expand to fill the time. So if you let yourself just spend, 4 hours on LinkedIn, you'll spend 4 hours and you'll look up and go, what the heck did I do? But I've also practiced 80/20, and I only do the activities I know that have the biggest impact on my business.
Okay.
And the magic in this, and this is something that the cynical out there won't believe, but the magic is when you give to people, there's something called the law of reciprocity. I credit Dr. Robert Cialdini with that in his book Influence. But when you help others, they want to help you back. It literally creates a tension in their brain, and the only way to relieve that tension is to say, here's an introduction back. So when you give to the universe wants to give back to you. And by the way, 80/20 principle, I work with the most giving people that I can imagine. If somebody is just a taker, at some point you owe it to them and yourself to sit down and say, I can't help but notice that it's all one way. I'm giving you introductions, I'm giving you referrals. If you're not interested in reciprocity, let's have that conversation now. And it's okay to say to somebody, you're not reciprocating. I'm not going to continue sending you introductions. So invest the time in the people that matter. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Uh,
you.
All right. Now, coming back, so this is what my notification feed looks like. And I'm absolutely amazed by people who don't know how to use notifications. I'm selective in what I see in my feed. I don't follow just random things. I follow my people. So Esther pops up in my feed a lot because Esther and I we do a lot together. Um, But here, for example, I created a book club. I think we mentioned this earlier. I absolutely love Bob Berg and John David Mann. I love their book series, The Go Giver. So I created a series on my thoughts on The Go Giver. So I'm going to share how um, the Go Giver itself, which is the first book in the series. I'm going to share how that book has impacted me, and I'm going to ask people in my network to share stories of how it's impacted them. As a complete tangent, and again, this goes to adding value. The whole point of Go Giver is how do you add value to others? If you give enough value, you will receive. So one of the things I wanted to do is to thank Bob Berg and John David Mann for writing the book. So I'm asking people who have lived the Go Giver way or who follow the Go Giver lifestyle to share how the Go Giver has impacted them. And I'm going to say for the record, neither Bob nor John David need my help. They're both very successful authors. They both got very successful communities. They don't need my help. I believe that the Go Giver book is a great litmus test. If somebody doesn't love the Go Giver, they don't need to be in my world. The Go Giver is literally my filter. If you don't believe in serving others and helping others, um, you and I don't have much in common because I'm going to try to give value to you before I receive. If you're not reciprocating, we're not going to be a fit. We're going to literally annoy each other. So the Go Giver is my tool. And the way I add value is I share content that matters to me. And Valerie, you'll notice there's nothing perfect about it. This isn't a well planned out, well written. I haven't agonized over the words. I just shared a post saying, I love the book. Here's why. Um, but by creating some valuable content, somebody out there is going to say, oh my God, I love this. And you can see I've already got, look, there's Valerie. I've got some people that have liked it. And again, unsolicited, this book was by Bob Berg and John David Mann. I suspect by the end of day, Bob Berg will comment on this as John David Mann has. So this
He
is
has
how,
right
oh,
below Bob Berg.
as I was saying, Bob is amazing on social media. Um, but I'm giving to them. I have no expectation. I have nothing I hope to get from them other than I like what they're doing and I want to spread the message. So good eye, Valerie. I think it's hilarious, but this is how we add value. And, I think this way, and, I can share content with Bob's community because Bob is commenting on this. People will see it. But more importantly, I can thank the people who've reacted and I can comment to the people. Um, so one of the things I do, I use the at symbol and their name. And believe it or not, I didn't know this, but a lot of people don't know this. But if you use the at symbol and then you start typing, you can actually tag somebody and they'll get it in their feed saying somebody commented on your post or somebody made a comment mentioning you. And good manners, if somebody mentions you, just go back and thank them or share an insight. But basically, that's how you can add some value. The very last thing I'm going to share is events. And honestly, I think events are the least utilized. And by the way, I feel like the world uses at best 10% of LinkedIn's capabilities. LinkedIn is a powerful business to business tool. There is a bit of confusion because it was also created as a networking tool to help people find jobs. But the magic is if you're there to network to find jobs, you're going to find that community. If you're there to find other entrepreneurs, to grow your business, you'll find that community. I like to help people. So one of the things I suggest you do, Valerie, for you, for your strategic partners, if your audience is on LinkedIn, host events on LinkedIn. And this is my bias is about action and education, helping people find value. So when you go to the home screen and you find the events tab, think about your dream client or perfect prospect and ask yourself what's one problem you can help them solve. So, for example, I work with people who are struggling to use LinkedIn. I can show them how to build authentic relationships on LinkedIn. So, I created an event on LinkedIn about how to use LinkedIn. I also have a monthly cash flow club workshop where I show business owners how to improve their cash flow. And I created and I teach a networking event on how to improve your networking skills. So those are my three core areas. I love cash flow. I love supporting local business. But create an event, and it's really, really simple. You put your cover image, whatever that is. I use a free tool called Canva to create my cover images. You put who the organizer is, so you can either be you, the human, or you can use one of your business pages. Oops. Um, I don't do in-person events, and that's my personal choice. I don't personally want to waste my time traveling to a venue, setting up, hoping that all the facilities are the way I hope they would be. I don't want to deal with food, things like that. So I like a Zoom event because I can set it up quickly. I can share ideas and information, and then when I'm done, I'm done. I leave it to you if you like to manage a venue, go for it. I will say, since COVID, one of the things I've realized is I can do everything on Zoom that I used to do in person. But more importantly, I don't come home with germs, so I don't end up with. I used to call it the conference plague. You know, everybody's shaking hands, and you come home with the cold and flu and whatever's going around. What I like about Zoom, quick, easy, and I don't get to spread germs and I don't get germs spread to me. You can set up your format so you can do a LinkedIn Live or, I use Zoom, so I'll use an external link. Um, Make the name clear, who should attend, why they should attend. And then you set your time zone and your start and end date, and then have a description so that somebody can say, oh, this makes sense. I want to attend. And then you can pick who your speaker is going to be, and that's it. And another way you can add value is if somebody has an event. So I'll show you my event. By the way, this was impromptu. I didn't even bother creating the visual. Um, but basically, you can share. So you can repost it to your feed so your network can see that you support this event, or you can send it in a message and say, hey, Valerie, I think you should attend. You can copy the link and you can put it in other places. But basically, that's again with your key strategic partners. I didn't accidentally land on the number 12. I deliberately picked 12. So me plus 11 is 12. And the reason for that is really, really simple. There's 12 months in the year. So if I present in October, Valerie would present in November, somebody else presents in December. And basically, it's not a pitch fest. It's about solving problems for our perfect prospect. So, what problems do they need solved before they come work with you? What don't they know? What don't they understand? How can you help them? And that's the way I see a strategic partnership working with you and your 11 key strategic partners. Is you each host a workshop each month, and you all invite your community, you all invite your network, and you have a private LinkedIn group where you can share ideas and information and things like that. But basically, what I want to show you is that by building authentic relationships on LinkedIn, you are building an asset that is yours for as long as you maintain it. And I just want to distinguish here, when you buy paid traffic, whatever platform you're on, you will get traffic as long as you're paying for it. The minute you stop paying for the traffic stops. With a key strategic partner plan, and with this, you're going to invest, like I said, up to an hour a day. If you've got your 12 people already picked and you already know, you're not going to spend as much time. But basically, as long as you build this machine and maintain it, you'll continue to receive referrals, introductions, and your business will grow. So I'm not saying don't do the other things. I'm just saying, if you're in business and you need to grow, why wouldn't you at the very least build a strategic network and start to offer some value? Like I said, it takes very little extra time, but it brings you your perfect prospects start calling you, your dream clients start coming to you. It's a much easier, higher close rate. And by the way, a customer that comes to you through referrals, they tend to stay with you longer. They tend to spend more money. They're more forgiving when you make mistakes. And because they know that's how you grow their business, they're more likely to refer others. So personally, I'd rather invest a little bit of time and energy building authentic relationships that bring me that next client, the next client, the next client, than spending a bunch of money on cold traffic that I need to warm up, I need to nurture, and then I need to find a way to close them. When somebody comes to you as a referral, they're way more likely to become a client. And like I said, they're willing to pay you more and they stay with you longer. So they're actually better clients in the end. And that is the end of the material I wanted to present. I'm going to open it up to discussion. So, first things first, Valerie, what was your biggest takeaway in all of that? I know you've got some notes.
Always, always. I think, I mean, I love The Go Giver. I'm so grateful that you introduced me to that book. So I really try to live my business life and my personal life with that mentality of caring for others all the time. But this tip that you said of building, not just connecting with new people, but deeper connecting with the people you already know by spending that hour a day to add value to them. So again, when I meet people that I want to do business with, I want to introduce them to my network, and that's just such an easy way to get them more well known with the people that I already know. So I'm already thinking of ways that I can implement that more into my daily routine. And then the events, I knew that you could do events, but for whatever reason, I had no idea that's how you did it, which is ridiculous. So that was really like, oh, it's that easy. Yeah, it is. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
and
forward to that.
honestly, like the platform has so much power, and I think that's why, the experts tell me I'm using it wrong. I'm not blasting from the street corner yelling and trying to attract as many people as possible. I'm whispering in the ear of the person I know needs my help and saying, hey, come over here, let's have a conversation. um, and I'm going to share this. This is half joking, but the day I proposed to my wife, I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't have an alternate target. She wasn't a prospect. It was, I want to marry this woman. And so I focused on building that relationship with her. 20 years later, we're still together. There's value in building relationships. And for what it's worth, a lot of salespeople say, "Oh, they don't need to like you to do business with you." That's true, but in order to make a referral, they need to know, like, and trust you.
Mhm.
And the number one way to build that trust, in my humble opinion, is those events.
Well, and I think it doesn't even need to be just, um, what am I trying to say? It doesn't even need to be with the strategic partners, but I think you can also use this mentality for your existing clientele to, again, help them be successful in whatever they're doing, because again, it's about keeping forefront in their mind, and showing that you do care about who they are and their family and their success, and that when they do have a referral, you're the person that they would want to send someone to, because like that know, like, and trust is very important, especially with what I do. People have to trust me. So these are great tips.
And by the way, one of the things I want to set the record straight on is that our favorite clients can and should be our key strategic partners as well.
Mhm.
Because the secret, and I'm going to offend some people here, the pain in the ass clients, they will bring you pain in the ass clients. Like attracts like. But if you have your perfect clients, and that's a, we didn't cover that, so thank you for asking that question. um why wouldn't you support your favorite clients? So, as an example, let's say you had 10 really amazing clients that you loved working with. They totally get what you do. They introduce you to people. Why wouldn't you, obviously with their permission, share what they do on social media? If you have a client who runs a bakery, why wouldn't you say, "Hey, Thanksgiving's coming up. Go buy your pies at such and such bakery." Um, if you're a go giver and you bring people to your clients, your clients are paying you money. Why wouldn't you make introductions to help them grow their business? You become a very weird service provider, because not only are you providing a service, but you're also bringing them introductions that grow their business and referrals.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that was accidentally my secret to success when I ran an accounting practice. I introduced my clients to one another, and I had a very concentrated mix of trades, construction, and realtors. And I actually ended up, I had a client who was a developer who needed to meet a realtor, and he needed to meet trades to work with his general contractor. Um, my clients did millions of dollars worth of deals with each other. I got nothing out of that other than I was the person who brought them together. So they all brought me their introductions and referrals.
Yeah,
So,
I love, I've always loved helping support other people grow and become known. So this was just another aha moment. Thinking about something that you do, but how you can maybe do it. I don't want to necessarily say better, but maybe more effectively
yeah.
to help their business and to bring awareness to them, but also to stay in their mind. So when I was reading something, probably one of Bob Berg's, but it was talking about someone who was a realtor, I think, and their friend that they'd known for years came and said, "Oh, I'm finally selling my house, and I just wanted to let you know that I listed with someone in your office." And they said, "Well, why wouldn't you listed with me?" And they paused and like, "I honestly didn't even remember that you were a realtor."
Yeah.
So if we're not having an authentic relationships, right? You don't want to be fake in the things that you're doing either, because people will see through that. But you have to stay at least in a proximity where when that thing comes up, you are the person that people are thinking of. And these are really easy ways that you can do that.
Well, and I'll quote a statistic I heard this week that blew my mind. A friend of mine, they cited a study. It was actually done out of a university in Ontario. I can't remember the university, but basically they found that if you communicate with your clients every 2 weeks, your almost 100% likely to get a referral or an introduction from your clients. Longer than 2 weeks, it drops to 7%.
Wow.
Literally, you fall from top of mind to who the heck are you? And by the way, that's I think the mistake a lot of realtors make is, they're competing in a sea of sameness. I provide good service, I'll come anytime. Everybody's trying to be the same, whereas you need to stand out and say, I'm the realtor who helps electricians buy houses. Like, find a way to stand out so that when people hear something, they go, oh, but that's the number one thing is if we're not communicating with our clients regularly, after 2 weeks, they start to forget about us. And
Hmm.
and as far as I'm concerned, going from 100% to 7%, that's literally a light switch. After 2 weeks, it's off. So find ways, and this comes back to LinkedIn. Can you engage your clients? Can you add some value to them? But again, the number one way to add value to any other business owner is to say, hey, everybody, here's a business owner. This is what they do. If you need what they offer, please reach out to them. Because that's, I know restaurants, they're desperate to get referrals. They want new customers, they want new people coming in. Every business out there right now, their single biggest challenge is, where do I get my next customer from? So if we can be the person that helps them find customers, and again, I'm not saying devote 8 hours a day to that. We're not communists. We all work for a living. We've got families to feed. But the key is, if you're giving introductions and referrals, you will be receiving them as well. And by the way, when I read The Go Giver, the fifth law of stratospheric success is that you must be receptive to receiving. And I went, oh crap, because I'm really good at helping people. I really struggle at being helped. And so I've learned, again, as a result of the Go Giver, and, Bob's analogy was really simple. We're used to breathing out. We need to breathe in as well. And if you don't, you're going to pass out. So,
Hmm.
in business, you need to be giving and receiving. But I love that order, because to me, it feels really good to help someone. But I also feel good when I let someone else feel good by helping me.
Hmm. Well, and I was listening to Endless Referrals. It's another book by Bob Berg, if people don't know about it. And it was talking about that it is okay to ask for referrals too, but it's better to ask more specifically instead of just saying, okay, who do you know? Because
Yeah,
it's as soon as you say that, everyone's mind goes blank. But it could be, do you have any single parents in your circle of influence that are, have really active kids? A very specific image you
yeah,
plant. And then you could say, okay, well, which of them that you're already thinking of would be a good introduction for me? And that helps them help you.
yeah.
And I think that was a really good point they made.
Well, and that's, I see a lot of people show up at networking events and they say, I help everyone with everything. And they think that being broad is good. But the reality is, my brain can only handle so many data points. And when you say everyone and everything, my brain can't comprehend that, so it drops you from my thoughts. Whereas if you say single parents with whatever, um, that brings up an image of a person, and that I can hang that on a little hook in my head and say, okay, I got to remember to introduce Valerie to so and so.
Mhm,
Whereas when you're too vague, and the other thing I think people make the mistake when they're networking is they're too clever. I hear buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. I don't bother to translate. I give up and I go, okay, whatever, and I walk away. So you want to make it easy for somebody to remember. Here's the transformation I provide, here's who I do it for, and here's how I do it. Keep it really simple.
Hmm.
All right. Well,
Yeah, no, that's
Valerie,
great.
I want to thank you for, first of all, your bravery, but also your commitment in hanging out with me. You will get first access to the recording. I will be sharing this with others. And just to thank you for hanging out with me today. When the book is ready, I'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff.
And for those who registered and didn't show up, you missed out because you could have hung out with Valerie and I, but um, you'll still get a copy of the book. You're just going to have to ask me nicely because you hurt my feeling today. No, I'm kidding. I don't have feelings around this. But I thank you for hanging out with me, Valerie, and I hope you got some insights from it. So
Lots. Always. Thanks, Jeff.
and I can't stress this enough. Use those little things that I shared today, and feel free to share the recording with your strategic partners, um, because if you're all lifting each other up, rising tide raises all ships.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
again, it's not onerous. I'm not telling you to help 1,000 people. It's you and 11 others.
Hmm. It's a team.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you and have yourself a great day. I'll see you Friday, probably.
Probably. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
Valley.